Hello and welcome to Work to Game. My name is Brian, and this is going to be our Final Fantasy XIV's Skipper's Guide to the Galaxy, in which that we try to remove some of the anxiety or stress what comes naturally when you use a jump potion, whether to skip the story or jump your level up. Now, I'm not going to judge you if you decide to do this, but I would also like to take this time, if you're using this video as a way to evaluate if you should, I would highly encourage you to play through the main story. But again, I'm not going to judge you if you decide to use a jump potion to play Final Fantasy XIV. However, the first tip of advice would be just don't tell people that you've skipped the story. The story is sacred, and if you do decide to do that, we do have a playlist regarding kind of story summary. There's also a lot of really other great creators on YouTube that kind of help summarize the story as well. So try to get a good feeling for that. It's like jumping into a season, a TV series like in the 5th season and being confused by what is about to happen, etc. So anyway, beyond the story, we're not going to be summarizing the story here, but we're going to be hopefully trying to help break down some of the core elements of the game itself to ease you into this world that you've now become a massive part of, especially at a high level. Now, some might argue that the game will teach you how to play as you level, and it is actually, I would say that is not the case. The game doesn't teach you how to play the game, and it usually takes a little bit of extra work and effort. Now, this isn't going to dive into any specific class on how to play that. We do have guides and playlists. Check the description of this video if you're looking for something more detailed to your specific class, whether it's playing with a controller or a mouse and keyboard. We should have you covered, but also another great thing about YouTube is there's a lot of really great creators out there as well. So keep an eye out for that. Be sure to search a guide and dive in. So let's go ahead and talk about what you need to know when getting started, especially if you've jumped into this game at level 70. First and foremost, the thing you need to know about me as a player is that I play on PC and I play with a controller. The game supports both keyboard and mouse seamlessly. Under character configuration, which is under your system settings, you can easily switch between keyboard and mouse mode and gamepad mode by just clicking on this switch here. You have a lot of different settings, and we go especially over these from a controller player in depth in our controller guide playlist. So the first thing that you really need to do is familiarize yourself with your job and the UI and the controls. It seems like such a basic and just introductory step, but it's going to pay off for you in spades. Now, I'm here out at Summerford Farms. If you hit your start button, you can go to your travel menu and you can teleport. This is going to give you a lot of different aetherytes in which that you can teleport. First thing and foremost, every time you see those giant crystals, click on them. If you've unlocked them, it's just going to pull up a menu, but if you have yet to unlock them, it's going to unlock them for you and allow you to teleport to them. So whether you've understood that concept, it makes fast travel and getting around this game very easy. So under the La Nacia area, I'm at Summerford Farms. You can go find other striking dummies, but this is just an area that has a low-level striking dummy for you to kind of play around with. If you see, I'm just kind of using my attacks, and you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of my UI as a part of my cross hotbar, when things are encircled, this means they are a part of a combo. So I can use that, and that's going to help give me extra damage. From a character perspective, this is going to be really something you want to start to kind of play around with. Go punch on a striking dummy and get, not get good. It would be good to get good, but you want to sit here and start playing around with the different settings and start getting a feel for your class itself. Let's say you're playing a healer. It's still the same concept. You want to go and try to pull out, just some heals, put out some damage, get a feel for what different skills do and when you should use them. The best way to do this, in my opinion, is obviously using striking dummies to kind of help familiarize yourself with any kind of base rotation. I would encourage you to go and look up some rotations to help start practicing and use your HUD and your UI to help educate yourself on this. Now, I haven't personally played Dragoon since Shadowbringers have come out, and I wanted to specifically focus in on this class, especially as it relates to somebody who's new coming back to the game or coming into the game in the first place. So let's say whether you're coming back or you're new to the game itself, you can see here I have different skills that have kind of lines through them. Those are skills that are no longer available, so I can kind of just drag those off my bar as necessary to kind of clean up my UI itself. If I go to my hotbar 3, I can go and do the same here. You'll notice that I can't actually move skills off of these shortcuts. You have to go to the hotbar specifically to get you what you need. You're also noticing right now that my character is just auto-attacking. That's all well and good, but you want to start to put in your skills. Your core damage is going to come from your abilities. And so going and hovering over them is going to tell you what they do. You can also hit your start, go to your actions and traits, and then here you'll find all your different actions. I would encourage you to take some time on your class to go through and just read the tooltips. We cover these in our 101 guides, and we're continually updating them. So if you're not seeing a specific guide for your job at level 80, please obviously feel free to find anybody else who's posting about this. But it's going to just save you some time to sit down and read what is happening. It doesn't mean I need you to understand it 100% right now, but to have an idea of what this skill is supposed to be doing, and then that way you can start to educate yourself on how you should use it. And again, obviously taking these skills and applying them to a dummy, which is going to help build up a little bit of confidence in playing the game. Now, let's say you've looked up a rotation online. That's where you can use the UI. You can see here I've kind of set up some different hotbars. If you go to your system and your HUD layout, here you can pick some different hotbars. In this case, I have 4 and 5 over here. You can move these things around. You can resize them. You have your UI elements setting gear icon right here, and that's going to allow you to kind of customize how it looks, how it's ordered, and more, as well as the elemental size if you want to change, as well as a kind of a transparency listed here. So you can kind of play with a lot of different things in this regards. Yeah, I'm going to discard my changes, close, and not going to save. So that way you can start to take your skills that we talked about here under actions and traits and start to drag them on to the bar itself, and you can start to try to build out your kind of a cheat sheet for your rotation, so that way you're getting more comfortable with it. Okay, so let's say you've done that. You've kind of played around with your UI. You've played around with your skills and kind of gotten refamiliarized with them. So if you're also looking for some more role-specific training beyond just hitting a striking dummy and reading the text, talk to the smith. You'll find the smith located in each of the 3 main cities in the Adventurers Guild. That's Gridania, Ulda, and Limsa Lamenza. I happen to be located here in Limsa Lamenza right now. You can see here Drowning Wench Guild. The smith is usually located next to the inn. Keep that in mind. Come talk to them, do some role training. If you just kind of talk to them, just pull up a nice little menu here, and you can say you want to talk about mentors, you want to talk about new adventurers. They have a lot of different here, and you want to register for the Novice Hall training. This is going to be what you're looking to do for them, and there's some rewards in it. There's an XP ring reward for you, so keep that in mind. It's going to help give you and just kind of bolster your experience as you level up through the game itself. This is really, I can't recommend this enough, especially if you've jumped and you haven't done this before. It should hopefully help alleviate some of the stress. It's only level 15, so it's not going to be about your full rotation and your skills. So hitting the striking dummy at your current level, reading the tooltips is still valuable. This is also just a little bit extra that I would recommend that you do, just to help ease yourself into group party play, because there is a role that you need to do, whether you're DPS, healer, tank, ranged, or more. So anyway, keep that in mind. Check this out, and yeah, let's move on. So after you played around with your system settings, your character settings, playing around with your target settings, how your camera is going to work, whether you're inverted, etc., that's all done here, like under character configuration. Play around with this. Go look at these settings, try them out. Take at least 10 minutes to kind of play around with different things, especially under your target and your filters. This is going to be huge for you when returning to the game. The number one thing I often hear is that people are struggling with targeting, especially with a controller, but it's the same way with mouse and keyboard. Play around with your target and filter settings. After doing that, after kind of hitting a target dummy for a little bit, after playing around with your UI, I'm going to talk to you now about content and what to do and what to focus in on. From a story, from an MSQ perspective, everything's still going to be locked. All the newest, coolest stuff that you're seeing in trailers, all the raids that people are raving about, the story is going to be important. I would please and beg you not to skip through this story. If nothing else, if you're not here for the story, I'm not going to judge you. You play the game the way you want, but Shadowbringers itself brings such a powerful story. And even if you've skipped over it, videos can help get you ready for it. The story itself is probably one of the best Final Fantasy games around. So anyway, I want to talk to you about the MSQ, and you're going to see this nice UI element. This is going to tell you where you need to go. Now in this case it says to be continued because I am current all the way up through patch 5.2, which is when this video is recorded. Click on this, it's going to show you on the map. If I just pull up a map, in this case, if I'm on controller, I can press Y, and that's just because of how I've got it mapped out. You can use the map to kind of navigate the world. So if you see here, I'm in Mist, which is where my house is located. You can use the map and drag it around, and you can kind of click on the Aetherites to teleport from here. So again, unlocking those Aetherites is going to be huge in terms of speed to get to where you need to go. If I go and say yes, I can go out to Mulberry Dry Docks. I can't even say it. The other thing on your UI you can see here on the right hand side is your quest journal, is your the top 5 quests that you're tracking. If you ever want to know where to go, you can always click on the blue text, and that's going to take you right to the nearest zone that they are in, and then you can easily see the aetheryte in which that you need to select and be able to teleport there instantly. It really is convenient. If you're using a controller, pressing the select button is going to have that little hand jump around the UI, and here once you have the journal up here selected, you can easily go and click on the main quest, which is going to pull up your journal itself, or again the blue text, which is going to allow you to open up the map and go to where you need to be. Using the right bumper R1 is going to allow you to drill through any of these things on a controller, just like we're on the mouse. You can use the click naturally in that regards. So there's a lot of easy ways to navigate this game, both with the keyboard and mouse and the controller itself. So that is essentially what's going to be driving a lot of your progress as you move through the game itself. But your MSQ, if you ever get lost, this is going to tell you right where you need to go. Where do you pick off? And that's going to be very important. The other thing you want to focus in on is quests that have this nice little plus sign next to them. You can see just a normal side quest. It's just that little Q with the little exclamation mark. But the ones that unlock features for you, different dungeons and more, things that might not be currently unlocked, have the little plus sign. Those are kind of what I would say is your priority. MSQ and then those pluses. Eventually, the game is going to lead you into a content that is not just yourself. At this point, you've hopefully got more, you're more comfortable with your playstyle, you're more comfortable with your character. Hopefully you're enjoying the story at this point. Before you dive into multiplayer content, you either need to bring your trust system with you, which is a part of the dungeons itself. You'll unlock this within Shadowbringers, and you want to go enter your duty tab and use trusts, and this is going to allow you to pick on a dungeon and pick your NPCs. This is going to allow you to play with NPCs, so just keep in mind that's going to be important. You got to be level 71 and up for this to be used, right? So what about other content that you're going to be playing with other people? Under your duty finder, I would recommend going into your guild hests. You can do so via the little kind of tab here, and you can see you got a couple different guild hests. This is basic training to kind of start easing you into the party mechanic. They are level synced, meaning this is going to be level 10, 15, and 20. I would encourage you, if you've jumped, to kind of work your way through all of these guild hests so you can start to get a good concept of what is going on with the game. From here, under your one tab, this is your dungeons that it's a part of, like ARR and previous expansions. Scroll down to the Realm Reborn area, and you can also look at doing some of these with a group of people, or you can also go up to your settings here and you can run these as an undersized party. This is going to allow you to go in solo at your current level to start to get a good feel for the enemies and how a dungeon is paced and more. You can do so that way you're not necessarily taking up anybody else's time. Now, whenever anybody's playing the game, I'm going to say no to that. Under roulette is where kind of a lot of your daily and weekly content and bonuses come from. Like if you're leveling up through the game, leveling roulette is really great. A leveling roulette's going to pull from a wide variety of dungeons up to your current level, and you need to be at least level 16 to be able to dive in and take part in it. The risk here and why it's dangerous to kind of go into it right away blindly is you might get a higher level dungeon than you're ready for, and you could end up impacting the enjoyment of other players out there in the world. And that's why it's important that if you go into any roulette that's going to automatically match you with other players, and it could go great, or it could be kind of frustrating, just make sure you let people know that you're new, that you're returning, that you're going to do your best. But if they have any tips for you, please let them, please be open to any kind of suggestions that they provide. Now, if you look at the roulettes here, this is going to be a feature in which that you can dive into a lot of content really quickly. I wouldn't start diving into your roulettes until you have a good understanding of kind of party comp play. And that can usually just be better done, obviously, like we said, with the guild hests, maybe even some lower level dungeons, letting people know that you're new and you're kind of still figuring this out. That's all well and good. So just feel free to be honest with people in dungeons saying, hey, I'm trying to learn. Just let me know if I'm doing anything wrong, especially whether you're a tank or a healer. Obviously, just try to, do your role the best way that you can. But as far as it goes, essentially you're going to eventually want to get into the kind of the roulette running. This is going to give you, and put you into random content. And once a day, it's going to come with a nice little bonus, and it'll tell you if you've already earned said bonus down here on the bottom, for that day specifically. And so just kind of play around with that. I would say take it easy and take it slow, and don't jump into roulettes the first thing. So if you're watching this guide and you're like, great, Brian says do roulettes the very first thing. Let me clear that up. No, don't do roulettes the very first thing you do. Familiarize yourself with your class, your job, your role, the UI, the MSQ, and then as you start to get into party comp play, see if you can't bring a friend along, because sometimes that can help ease a lot of the anxiety, the stress, but as well as when you look at all of the content that you have yet to run that the game says that you have already completed, it would be very valuable to kind of just maybe start hitting up the dungeons one at a time. You can actually queue up for like 5 things at the same time. So you can just sit here and say, okay, give me these 5 dungeons right here. And then you just kind of run them, get a good, feel for how they work at that level, start checking them off, work your way up the list, and more. You're going to have a little bit of a queue time, but there's plenty of stuff for you to do out in the open world as it relates to fates in your party and more. So lots of information there. I know it can seem like this can seem like there's so much going on in the world, and there is in that regards, but just remember, you're trying to eat an elephant here, and so it's best to kind of try to take it one bite at a time and not let it make it worse and make it feel like it's too big for you to do, because you can totally do this. You can totally take it one step at a time and really have fun. The last thing I'm going to point out, because there's 1,000 things that we can talk about and we've talked about in previous guides. And again, I would encourage you to, as you're playing, maybe just kind of put some guides, either our guides or other people's guides on kind of play while you're playing. So that way you can listen, you can start getting the feel for some of the terminology and the lingo. But lastly, I want to say that whenever you're going to log out for the day, make sure you're near an aetheryte or in a city where you have this moon symbol next to your XP bar. This is going to designate that you're building up rested experience. The other thing you want to do is go into your inventory, and from here make sure that you have food. You can go to like a vendor in any of the cities. They're going to sell you like little boiled eggs for cheap. Like, it's just super cheap food, but it's going to give you that 3% EXP buff. It's going to give you some additional stats. Food has an effect. You can stack it twice and have an hour-long buff on your character when you're playing. It adds up. It all adds up, and it's going to make your experience, especially as you start to level up alternate jobs, way more, I guess, enjoyable, for lack of a better term. So the game is here for you. We're here for you. If you guys have any other questions, let us know in the comments below. Hit us up on Discord. Hit us up on Twitter. Our hope is that you really enjoy this game for everything that it offers, from a story, narrative, gameplay, and communal aspect. There is a lot to love about Final Fantasy XIV. And yeah, you know what? Good luck to you as you step into this bigger world, especially having jumped. Again, like I said, my name is Brian, and this is Work to Game. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you feel like we've earned your subscription, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel like this video is worth your time and you want to share it out with the world, we would appreciate that. It really helps us out a lot. Do so. Make sure you hit that like button. And yeah, let us know if there's anything you want to see us cover in future videos here on the channel. Anyway, like I said, this is Brian. Hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.